Happy New Year, everyone. God bless you all, and welcome to episode 1 of Extended Thoughts. My name is George. I will be your host, and basically, if you're already a subscriber of mine, or the shorter videos we do on my channel, they normally range anywhere between 3 to 15 minutes long. This is going to be the deep dive version of that. So if you've seen my past content and you're like, you know what? I really liked it when George covered this game, this topic, this thing. Well, and you wanted to hear more about it, here we are. This is what we're going to do. This is going to be a more laid back experience. I'm going to upload one of these fortnightly. And basically, we're going to just have one complement the other. All of my videos that you're going to enjoy for the next fortnight, for example, whatever the topic is going to be about, well, when I upload episode 2 of Extended Thoughts, good news, you get to get a deeper dive on all of those videos. That way they complement each other. Today we are going to be discussing the many remasters, the many remakes, and the reimaginings that all launched just in 2025, or at the very least were announced in 2025. It was a busy year. It was a tsunami of old games making a comeback, and I want to share my thoughts on all of them. I'll have gameplay playing in the background whenever we discuss a game, but treat this like a podcast. Leave me running in the background, regardless of if you're listening to me on your phone, on the computer, or on the TV. This is a more relaxed experience. Just a bunch of smexy gamers, always excited for the future. Now, let me address, what tsunami am I talking about? Well, here is a little collection of the games that have been either announced or launched just this year in 2025 and I've covered on this channel. Any game I bring up on this channel that I've covered already, by the way, will be pinned in the comment section below and will be in the description. So if I mention Fighting Force Collection and you're excited for that, I'll have a link to it. But here's the tsunami to prove my point. Some of you may think, no, there hasn't been that many games that have been announced from old legacy consoles like the PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64. Well, I'm about to prove you wrong. Let's have a look at all the old games that I've covered on this channel. So, Fighting Force Collection, as I already said. Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis, that's basically a remake of the first Tomb Raider game. Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, that's a reimagining of a Dragon Quest VII game. Tomba 2. Oh, and by the way, later on, I will also cover a little bit of the drama which was around Pokemon Legends ZA graphics. I also did a video on that. We've also covered Fatal Frame 2 Remake. Fantastic. That was a PlayStation 2 game that's receiving an insane graphical overhaul. I also covered Deus Ex Remaster. We'll be talking about that. Dynasty Warriors 3, another PS2 game. Dynasty Warriors 3 Remastered is coming out with graphical levels as good as a remake. Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection also came out. We're talking about Sega Mega Drive games even being launched on modern consoles, and I've done videos on all of this. So let's answer the next question. Why? Why are we getting these games? Well, let's do some quick housework on the state of AAA gaming, and I promise this isn't going to get too political or too negative. I want to keep a positive, upbeat tone, but basically, AAA gaming has not been doing well. A lot of AAA games that have been in the works for 7, 8, 9, 10, even 11 years. These games are launching out with hundreds of millions of dollars worth of budget. They're launching, they are failing. The games are not getting back their initial investment, or they're only breaking even, which is not the goal. If you've been investing a game for half a decade or a full decade, and you only get your investment back, that just means you didn't lose money. But basically you did, because you could have invested in something that actually made money. Other times they're just failing, right? Developers are being shut down, publishers are being shut down. And this is not an exaggerated thing. I mean, Ubisoft, one of the biggest game publishers in the world. You know who Ubisoft is. Think of Far Cry, think of Assassin's Creed, think of their countless IPs. Ubisoft basically almost went down under. They had to be almost bought out. It's not looking good. Now, why do I bring this up? Well, everything has a bit of a chain reaction. You know, gamers still want to buy lots of games every year. We want to get excited. So if AAA games are coming out and they're launching, and there's many reasons, you know, they're coming out with features missing, with pay wars, a buggy, broken experience. They've raised the price of games, where in Australia, for example, sometimes games launch at $120, and I'm not going to buy that. $120? No, that is not going to happen. So what happens if game after game after game after game, AAA games keep coming out, they're not doing good, gamers love voting with their wallets, and so these games don't get bought? Well, that creates an untapped market, and this is where we circle right back to the remasters, to the reimaginings, to the remakes and so forth, because when we are not spending our money on the AAA games that are disappointing us for a myriad of different reasons, well, we have money to put elsewhere. So then when they, for example, release Tomba 2, and I'm like, oh, Tomba 2, oh, it's a PlayStation 1 game from my childhood. I haven't played that since my childhood. Oh my goodness. You're like, oh, you get excited. You look at the price. You're like, okay, 40 Australian or whatever. You're thinking, all right, so these are my options today. I can buy, one of the $120 games, which launch broken, which launch with a base version, because if I even want the full game, I need to get the deluxe edition, to get the ultimate edition, to put in all this money. They have changed things in the game for, political messaging and just strange things like that, right? So I have that choice, or I can ignore all that headache, and I can instead buy a $30 or $40 game that is complete, that I haven't played in decades, so there's that nostalgic factor. I'm probably going to go for that Tomba option. And what's awesome about this is it's an avalanche of two things. One, old games I haven't played in forever. I mean, Tomba 2, Fighting Force Collection, Fatal Frame, Dynasty Warriors. There's a lot of old Mortal Kombat games I haven't played in forever. That's part of the collection. All of these are seen to a need. They are cheaper, they are feature complete, and it gives gamers something that they haven't felt in a long time, and that is respect. You feel respect and nostalgic to buy a game and just to know that you own the whole product. Like when you buy the Fighting Force Collection game, for example, it's literally a port at this stage. Unfortunately, they haven't improved the graphics or whatever. They haven't added any features. So, not the best there. However, is that going to be complete? Is it going to be the full game? Is there going to be any paywalls? Is there going to be any changes? No. It's just the complete game. You can own it on a modern system, and then you can relive those nostalgic days. But then you have other games that push things a lot further. Remasters are my new favorite thing at the moment. So it does get a bit confusing. You hear the word remastered thrown out. You hear the word remake thrown out. You hear the word reimagined. What's with all these re's? What do they all mean? So let me simplify it for you, right? So then there's an agreed terminology going on here. Remastered, we normally use that word when the game has basically not been changed. So the gameplay, even right down to the coding, most of it is untouched. The remastered bit is normally they've simply improved the graphics to an extent. So a very popular video on this channel I did previously was Soul Reaver Remastered, for example. And that is the best remaster that I've seen to date, where they grabbed Soul Reaver, so PlayStation 1 level graphics, and they upgraded it to PlayStation 2 graphics. Now, that may not sound like a lot, but if you're a retro fan and you're just happy to play Soul Reaver plural, right? And now you get to buy that game again, but with graphics that was not even possible at the time, that's very exciting. Plus, you also got features that made it better. So for Soul Reaver Remastered, you had dynamic shadows added to the game, and I have to say it really added to the gloomy atmosphere. It was really cool in a photo mode and all these other things. All of these games bring the level up. Dynasty Warriors 3 Remastered, that is amazing. That's amazing. That isn't a little bit of a graphical upgrade. That is a huge graphical upgrade, and that's definitely going to launch cheaper than the AAA games that have been launching lately. Another title which I am very excited for is Fatal Frame 2 Remake. I did a fantastic graphical analysis video on this. I've done graphical analysis videos on basically every single one of these videos, by the way. That's my specialty. I like to look at the original source, and then I like to look at the remastered or the remake version or whatever, and I like to see what they've done. I like to point out where the improvements are, because sometimes our memories, well, not sometimes, often our memories are pretty rose tinted. We remember things looking much better than what they were. So sometimes a remaster will come out and you'll look at it and you're like, that doesn't look any better than what it was before. Like, how is this a remaster? And then you see the actual footage of the remaster, of the original, because I do that in my videos. I take the time to look after you all. And you look at the original and you're like, oh, did it really look that bad? And the answer is yes. Yes, not to bag on our childhood memories or anything, but when we were playing the PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64, this was the introduction to 3D to most of us. We were just blown away that we were even playing a 3D game, and we didn't need to be at the arcades putting $1 a pop for like 30 seconds before dying. It was a big deal. We had nothing to compare it to. Of course, what your eyes saw back then when you had nothing to compare it to is going to be different 5-6 generations later, which is literally how far in the future we are. So I like putting those together. And sometimes those graphical analysis videos even cover modern videos. Like, I'll cover this later on in more depth, but I previously did a video on the Pokemon Legends ZA graphics, right? Or Pokemon Legends ZA. I did a graphics comparison video where I boldly, and it wasn't hard to do, sadly. I basically compared the graphics of Pokemon Legends ZA to PlayStation 2 games, and let me say, those PlayStation 2 games held up a lot better than they should. I'll talk about that later on in the videos, but staying more focused and on track. So remasters are those where it's basically the same game and they've just improved things. Maybe there's a rewind feature, maybe there's a save feature, maybe the graphics just look better, maybe the game before didn't support shadows and now it does. A remake, as it implies, is basically, it gives them a lot more creative freedom. A remake lets them remake the game while using the original game as an inspiration as opposed to a blueprint. So the Resident Evil remakes that Capcom likes shooting out there, they're a good example. You have the Resident Evil 2 remake, Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 4, and there's no way they're brave enough to do Resident Evil 5, let's be honest. But Resident Evil 2, when that came out, they obviously used Resident Evil 2 as an inspiration. The characters were from Resident Evil 2. But the camera perspective, the gameplay, and even a lot of the things you could do were unique to that remake. So remake is using something that's already come out. The graphics are normally phenomenally better. If you see the word remake beside something, the majority of the time, it isn't simply a graphical improvement. It brings it to modern standards. So you see Fatal Frame 2 remake, it brings it to modern standards, and that game looks phenomenal, so it definitely is there. Deus Ex Remastered, for example, that is perfectly named because the graphical evolution is, the game stays the same, but they improve the actual graphics a generation up. It's not modern graphics by any means, but it's like what Soul Reaver did. Plus they did some other cool things like add in dynamic shadows, which add a lot to the experience. Then you have other games that have the word reimagined beside it, and that's a whole other kettle of fish. So Dragon Quest VII Reimagined is something I am deeply looking forward to. I am so excited for Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, which is coming out February, right? Next month, believe it or not, next month. And sometimes a reimagine will come out, which is like a blend of a remastered game and a remake, because they've recreated it, but it plays very similarly to the original source material, but the graphical jump is so big you can't really call it a remaster because it's well beyond that. And that's what Dragon Quest VII Reimagined is. It looks phenomenal, like it looks fantastic, like I love the art style. And they've merged some other features from the later, more recent Dragon Quest games into this one, quality of life, but not in the bad sense. So we have all these games, all these old things coming out, and some please, like a lot of people I'm talking in the Fighting Force collection comment section of my previous video. So like that video really blew up. It's like 26,000 views. I had no idea there were so many fans. I thought it was just me. But there's obviously a lot of you who like this game. And while a lot of us are excited, and I am one of them, there's also just as much conversation of like, are you serious? That's it? Like, is there really no improvements? Because I tried to do my graphical comparison yet again, and I'm looking over the footage and it's like, oh my goodness, this is just a port, So sometimes you don't even have a remaster or a remake or reimagine. Sometimes it's just a port. Sometimes it's just the exact same game, love or hate it. You get it. But of course, all of these games have the advantage of the fact that they will all launch at a significantly cheaper price than AAA. They will all be complete, and you just feel more respect. It's a very fun time. It's a very fun game. That's all gamers want. A lot of us grew up with, maybe things were difficult at school or whatever, and games was the comfort. Games was the place that you weren't judged, you weren't made to feel dumb or silly or whatever. And so we have a lot of nostalgic value. I speak to a lot of people over the years on my channel who, video games carried them. There's a special, say they've been bullied at school or they're just struggling in their lives in different areas, sometimes family things, sometimes health, and sometimes you just really needed to boot up a game and just fixate on that and focus, and it carried you through. And to many people, as confirmed in my comment section, these games have done just that. So I love the fact that we're getting access to these old games because, I have my old PlayStation 1. I can still hook it up to my TV. But without sounding like a graphical snob, which I'm going to sound anyway, a lot of them hasn't aged well, especially the fact that if you played, and this will be a bit of a shock, but if you play an old PlayStation, right, hook it up to a modern TV or even an old TV if you can get that going, you play those games and the graphics are warping. You never noticed this when you were younger, but literally for no reason, well, there's a reason, but I don't want to bore you with the technical details, but literally things warp and move for no reason. Like it's really jarring. So I love the fact that even if it's simply an anti-aliasing upscale, I love the fact of being able to grab those old games, play it on my computer or console of choice, and it's just nice and smooth. Because then what happens is when I play with anti-aliasing, then it looks like the way I thought it was, even though it technically looks better. And if I get Fighting Force Collection, I will get the PC version and I will brute force anti-aliasing through my PC with my NVIDIA graphics card. I might do a video on that to help people out because not everyone is aware of this, but you don't need a hack, you don't need to download anything, you already have the features built into your computer from the start. But there is a very easy way to add anti-aliasing. So the jagged edges around the edges of characters, you see all those lines and it looks a bit weird, and then some other games it's all nice and smooth and everything pops out. That's anti-aliasing, and you can put that on any PC game you play. Apologies for my retro fans who play on PC. I can't help you there. Sorry, I can't help those of you that play on console. Like you're stuck. If you're stuck with that. Alrighty, so I want to talk about every single game that I've listed here. I promise I'm not going to drag it out too long. Each game, I'm just going to spend like 5 minutes. Alright, I think we can agree that's a safe number. Just 5 minutes max. 5 minutes max on each game, just to remind you where I stand and get the conversation going. So, the Fighting Force collection. Let's start with that. You get Fighting Force 1 and you get Fighting Force 2. Now, I'm excited that this collection exists because I really enjoyed Fighting Force 1. You know, this is a 3D brawler. You went around co-op with a mate, 4 playable characters. You went around, it was a simpler time, very arcade experience, and you just punched and kicked everything into oblivion. It was fun, it was simple, and I've missed it. I'll randomly think about Fighting Force collection, be like, I would like to play it. And then this collection came out, it's like, beautiful. Has the word collection because you also get Fighting Force 2, which that's a controversial game because Fighting Force 1 was, walk around with your friend, beat everyone up, and just, it was just arcade chaos and fun. Fighting Force 2 went really serious. 1 player, you cannot play with a friend. The tone has completely changed, and all I remember was that it was darker, harder, and while it was fun, it was nothing compared to the first game. And my comment section on that video is filled with people feeling exactly the same. I think I was lucky enough to get like 2 people. I think there was 2. I think there was 2 people, maybe 3 tops, that genuinely was excited for Fighting Force 2. No one else was. No one else was. I said it in that video and I'll say it in this one as well. I'm looking forward to giving it a chance because back then I was a disappointed teenager who wanted to play Fighting Force 2 with my friends, and then I booted it up and realized I couldn't. And when you're a teenager, you can't handle disappointment. Like something doesn't go your way, you're like, this game is dead to me, right? As an adult, I will give it a chance because I'm going to be playing the first one by myself anyway, you know. So I think I'm a lot more up to playing Fighting Force collection, playing the second Fighting Force game. Am I disappointed that it is just a port? Yes I am. I like to get the upscale experience. At the very least, give me anti-aliasing. At the very least, it's the simplest thing. The tools will do it for you. Just why is that not there? Anyway, moving on to the next game that I've covered recently and excited. Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis. That is a remake, reimagining, rebirthy of the first Tomb Raider game. And hey, Lara Croft looks like Lara Croft. Finally, my girl's back. Look, I am an old school gamer. Obviously, I'm an old school gamer, right? And when you teach me something then it is that forever. So the Tomb Raider developers, they taught me for a long time, for many years over many consoles, that Tomb Raider looks a certain way. She has a certain attitude, she has a certain energy, she has certain moves and this and that, certain clothes, certain everything, even a certain amount of vibrancy in terms of colors and saturation and popping off the screen. And Tomb Raider reared off that for quite a while. And recently, without getting into the political stuff, let's just say that they have very deliberately and openly changed Tomb Raider in every single media possible to suit certain made-up modern standards. Obviously, we all know what that means. Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis is a return to old. She looks now the way you would have imagined she looks back during the PlayStation 1 days if you try to imagine the future. Although, let's be honest, during the PS1 days, there's no way you could have even imagined half the graphics that are available today. It's too much of a jump. I remember playing on the PlayStation 2 and thinking graphics can't get better than this. That's right, that's how old I am. I remember sitting there on the couch with my friend playing Dead or Alive 2. Another game I reviewed on this channel, by the way. I do enjoy my retrospectives. Playing Dead or Alive 2 and just looking at how smooth and rounded the polygons were on the characters and thinking, where do you go from here? Mentally, I could accept, PlayStation 1 generation was blocky. Then we went to PlayStation 2 and the blocks were gone. It was all round, it was all smooth. And I'm like, you can't go anywhere from here. I thought it was the best. So, Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis, really glad to see that she's going in the correct direction, and that counts as an absolute win for gamers. Because trust me, if AAA wasn't burning and dying for the most part, let's be real, Tomb Raider would not be looking the way she is. And what's good is it feels gamey, like just the way the colors pop, and she even has that fancy climb move that she does. Makes me happy that this is a step in the right direction. I don't ask much for a gamer. I just want games to respect themselves. Because look, I'll be honest, and I don't really mind if people believe me or not. If Tomb Raider, the series, was like a fat, ugly, bald guy who looked like an actual bowling ball, and say that is the Tomb Raider I was introduced to, I would be annoyed if they stopped that. I would be annoyed if my, bowling ball Tomb Raider bald man, I would be upset if he was all of a sudden skinny and had a six-pack or whatever. Same rule applies for Tomb Raider. I was introduced that this was a beautiful, confident, in-shape woman who, body proportions-wise, there's nothing exaggerated about her. Like, walk down the street and look at random women. Like, there's nothing different or special here. Anyway, I'm glad to see Tomb Raider look the way she does. Actual game looks fun. Love the color popping. Now, Dragon Quest VII. I am so excited for this. That I'm actually going to buy day one. Because I did a review of Dragon Quest XI. And I was obsessed with it. It's literally one of my most popular videos on this channel. I think my Dragon Quest XI video, I think it has like 65,000 views or something. People commenting all the time. I loved that game. I was obsessed with it. And Dragon Quest XI was my first Dragon Quest game. So ever since then, I've been on the hunt. And look, I'll be honest. I've been a bit of a graphical snob. I've been waiting for a 3D Dragon Quest game. I know we've had Dragon Quest 1 and 2, reimagined or remake or whatever they called it. And then they had the other one, and I'm sure those are great games. But I'm sorry, my pampered eyes fell in love with Dragon Quest XI, and I needed something to look like that. And Dragon Quest VII Reimagined looks fantastic. Looks like it's kept the gameplay elements that I loved about Dragon Quest XI. The old school turn-based style. I love that, I think it looks gorgeous. I love the purity and the innocence that Dragon Quest VII brings. The Dragon Quest universe, it even borderlines on Daggy, but I think it's good because I'll be real. I miss Daggy. I miss it. I want clear cut, good, bad. I don't want to have to think too much. I don't want every single villain justified and no one's a bad guy. There's a grey area. It's like, no, there is proper evil. Proper evil exists. And in video games, it's meant to be, depending on the game, nice and clear cut. There's those that want to be a lot more in the grey area. That's cool. But me, personally, I don't want it. I don't want to feel guilty for being the bad guys. I want to kick their butt. I want to feel like a boss, and I want to feel like a good guy. I want a cape. I want an always positive group of followers, and I want to go around and I want to level up and get my shiny sword and my shiny shield and unlock my magic abilities and just get lost in the fandom, in the imaginative world of video games, because video games is about escapism. That's what it was introduced to me as, and that's what it will always be. So, very looking forward to Dragon Quest VII Reimagined. Next game that I covered was Tomba 2, and I was looking forward to Tomba 2. I did a review on Tomba 1. I got early access to it, and then did a review. Again, that was a very popular video as well. And I really like Tomba 2 because they did a very simple thing. Tomba 1 was all side view. It played like an old game, even though it was technically a 3D world, but the camera basically stayed looking at you side on, whereas when you jumped on certain buildings and did certain moves, sometimes it rotated just a little bit, just to tease the fact that it's 3D, without having to commit to 3D controls. Tomba 2 still has you moving up, down, left, right, so the controls are still the old ones, but the camera is much more angled, much more cinematic, and because we're going back so much in my memory, all I remembered was thinking that the game looks amazing. but I can't really remember much else other than it looked amazing. I thought it did. And I've wanted to play it. So the fact that it's come, even though once again, no graphical improvements, they've added a save anytime feature, which as an adult, I need that in all my games. I really do. When I was little, if I was an hour away from a save point, I didn't even see that as a bad thing. I'm like, oh goody, I get to play for an extra hour. But when you're an adult and you have 30 minutes to squeeze in, then it needs to be 30 minutes. I need to be able to stop playing and attend to my responsibilities. So getting these old games where I can stop at any point and save is almost a must for me at this stage. It isn't about cheating. It isn't about, I'm no longer good at games or something like that. It's just, I'm an adult. I multitask, I'll stop playing a game. I'll go do something. I'll come back. I'll play again. And sometimes I have a spare hour where I can dedicate to a game. And if I have an hour is all I have. I can't play for an hour, and then it turns out I'm actually another hour from a save point. or I'll lose all my progress unless I figure out what to do. Like, no. Taking a slight break from the remakes, remasters, and all this, I just want to also change topics slightly, and then we'll continue back onto the list, because we still have Fatal Frame 2 Remake, Deus Ex Remastered, Dynasty Warriors 3, Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. But I want to talk about one video which a little bit controversial. I thought I was just pointing out the obvious, but Pokemon Legends ZA, the graphics. There's obviously been a lot of discussion around Pokemon games, especially on the Switch. Basically, the long and short of it is the games don't look as good as they should. They don't look AAA by any means. And while there is no expectation for Pokemon to look AAA, the thing is, Pokemon doesn't look AA either. It looks slightly better than an indie, but to be honest, I've seen how a lot of indies look these days. There are indie games that look better. And yes, it's not about the graphics, and yes, I am completely aware that Game Freak have a very unfair turnaround time. Like, seriously, guys, like every year they have a Pokemon game out. They are working on several Pokemon games all at the same time. Even while they were working on Pokemon's ZA, they are also co-working on the next one, because the Switch 2 is out. We're in 2026, and you can bet your butt we're going to learn about the next Pokemon game, right? I get it. Super turnaround time. They don't have a lot of room for much creativity, let alone fine-tuning things. But you have to understand a couple things, right? While we don't expect AAA graphics, it would be nice, but we're not stupid. We're not stupid. We know you don't get AAA graphics on a 1-year turnaround time. It just doesn't happen. That's not what AAA is. AAA doesn't equal 1 year, and that's the time frame they basically have to work with. However, Pokemon as a franchise actually makes more money than AAA games do. So whenever you see a successful AAA video game come out, and they've literally worked on it 7-8 years, no exaggeration. I promise I'm not just making this up, but no exaggeration. A successful AAA game that has been in development for 7 to 8 whole years, hundreds of millions of dollars, insane amount of manpower, right? The Pokemon games that recently launched, broken, buggy, but ugly, looking like actual PlayStation 2 games in 2025, these games sell more copies than the actual successful AAA games. I'm not even comparing it to games that are unsuccessful. No. We're saying the best AAA games still don't make money, still don't make as much money as Pokemon Legends, as Pokemon games in general. Pokemon Legends, the game that came out before that, the game that came out before that, the next game that comes out, all of them smash records. Why is this relevant? Well, look, firstly, if you're making that sort of money, you can afford to make the games look nicer. Even if you don't have much time to work on it, that that engine should be pretty fine-tuned by now. They're not new to making Pokemon games. They're not even new to making 3D Pokemon games. The problem is that it's accepted, because whenever I bring this up on YouTube and on my Pokemon Legends Zard graphics comparison, where I successfully compared Pokemon Legends Zard graphics to PlayStation 2 games, and I compared it to like the Tenchu series, I compared it to Metal Gear Solid 3, I compared it to actual PlayStation 2 games, side-by-side comparisons, and oh dear, it really proved that it's basically PlayStation 2 graphics. Now, this is terrible. This is terrible. We need to pick it up. This isn't about bullying. This isn't about being unreasonable. And this certainly is not about saying that, hey, I think less of you if you enjoy these games. Please. I speak to a lot of my subscribers. I speak to a lot of my commenters. Almost all of you. Bit hard to keep up, but I think I do a pretty good job. And I know plenty of yous are fans, and I always encourage them. I always tell them, say, hey, just because I took a massive dump on the graphics of the game, that doesn't mean that A, I don't want you to enjoy it. You absolutely should. But B, there can be multiple truths at the same time, yeah? I think we can agree that, hey, we want to give some leniency to Game Freak because they don't have much of a turnaround time. But also, let's not pretend that this was good enough. This is embarrassing. I've covered actual indie games with 1-2-man teams that all look better. Like, this is unacceptable. So I really hope with the next Pokemon game, I'm looking forward to the Switch 2 exclusive Pokemon game. Because it's not about power. This isn't like the Pokemon games that have come out on the Switch, that's just the best you can do on Switch. It's like, no. Almost every single other game in general on Switch has looked better. But let's move past that, right? Let's move past. That happened in 2025. Remember, I'm just bringing up what happened in 2025. I'm reminding you what happened. So Fatal Frame 2 Remake. That looked amazing. I got so excited. I really enjoyed doing the graphical analysis videos because I really dig deep. You know, like when I see a remake come out, like, I record the remake footage. Then I go and I actually hunt down the original footage and I record that. And then I take actual screenshots in my video editing software and then I put them side by side and I zoom in. I really get in there so we can appreciate the finer details. And Fatal Frame 2 fans are in for such a treat. This game looks phenomenal. I am upset for the fans as a retro survival horror fan, as someone who misses greatly fixed camera angles in my survival horror. It absolutely upsets me that Fatal Frame 2 is now over the shoulder, third person like that, right? Like, it's an easy cop out. Capcom did it because they couldn't figure out how to make it work with modern audiences, and instead of doing it correctly, everyone just avoids fixed camera angles completely, apart from indies. And I make a point to review them occasionally on this channel when I get a really good indie survival horror, but staying focused on Fatal Frame 2 Remake. Apart from the camera change perspective, this looks phenomenal. It looks so good. And also, the women in this, the woman, I'll make sure she's on the screen now, absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And the reason why this stands out is because it's a rarity. See, during the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 generation, beautiful characters were everywhere, right? Men always had the perfect figures. Women always looked just as good, right? And so you didn't pay it any attention because it was the norm. It's just how it was. It was like, it was like the Hollywood movies and so forth. Obviously, you had the pretty people up there because that's just what you liked looking at. It wasn't about objectification. It wasn't about any of these trend words that we like to use incorrectly. It just was the standard. So we know we're in a different place when in the middle of me analyzing my Fatal Frame 2 Remake and doing that comparison video, again, reminder, all of these game reviews and videos that I've done will be linked below and in the description. But it really stood out to me that while doing that, I was just looking at her face, something which I don't normally do. I was just doing it to compare the graphics. And then I'm like, oh, she's beautiful. I'm like, why is that standing out to me? And I'm like, oh, right. You don't really see that these days. It's like, oh, that's a little bit of a punch in the gut. Like something so simple, something we took for granted, something we thought would always be there, all of a sudden beauty is deemed a bad thing. So nice to see that these games bring back whatever standards they had before. And Fatal Frame 2 not only does honor to the original source material, takes it a step further. You have the original guy, the original creator of this series, personally working on this. He himself is excited. Now look, when I'm excited for a game and I find out the developer himself is excited, I take that as a massive good signal. I take that as a very good sign, because he's had a look over everything and he's said it as well. And I said it in that past video, that this is the way he could have only imagined it looked. Like this is his dream come true, that they tried to push everything as much as possible, and they added features that they couldn't do before. Like previously, your sister, she just followed you, right? You ran and she followed close behind. He originally, in that Fatal Frame 2 game on the PlayStation 2, he originally wanted you to hold her hand. So you're guiding her, but you know, they had some trouble with the coding or technical whatevers. Anyway, they had to drop the idea. So for Fatal Frame 2 Remake, you get to hold her hand, and that's something you always wanted to do, so lovely. Jumping on to the next video, and to be honest, I got more hate on this video. I got more hate on this video than I did my Pokemon Legends graphics video, which is surprising. I interacted for the first time with the Deus Ex community. And my goodness, was I in for a little bit of a rough start. So Deus Ex Remastered, the trailer comes out. I had a look and I'm like, okay, cool. This looks like an old game. Full disclosure, I haven't played the Deus Ex games before. But I had a look at all the footage of the previous game. Had a look at the graphics, the character models, the lighting, all that stuff that I do that I'm famous for, that people like to subscribe for, right? I'm like, okay, cool. Then I had a look at the remastered graphics. I'm like, oh, okay. This is actually quite nice. This is quite similar to what they did with Soul Reaver Remastered, where they basically went from PlayStation 1 graphics to PlayStation 2. I'm like, oh, okay, awesome. Fans are going to be excited with this. And there was a lot done. Character remodels, texturing, effects, completely brand new lighting, ragdoll physics. So instead of pre-scripted death animations, you actually have physics. So if you shoot them and they fall down the stairs, they'll actually tumble. Will be hilarious. They added things like dynamic shadows, which again, because of the Soul Reaver Remastered, I can confirm that is wonderful. You know, it really adds to the experience. Did the video editing. I was excited. I'm thinking of actually getting the game myself, and then uploaded it. And then the storm came for me. Because talk about having unrealistic expectations. Because to say the fans came to attack me and there was just a war between the like and the dislike button on the video for absolutely ages is not an understatement whatsoever. Like, fans of Deus Ex went nuts. I had a whole bunch of them liking the video in secret. They didn't want to comment, and the reason why they didn't want to comment is because the comment section was just a disaster. It was just fans losing it, saying this looks terrible, or the mods are even better than this is an insult. People were like accusing me, saying, are you trolling us? Is this a bait thing? There's no way you think this is good, right? Like, they were just absolutely losing it. And I'm like, what's going on here? Like, I'm looking back at my own footage and I'm like, no, there is clearly a improvement, a noticeable improvements. And I pointed out in my split screen comparisons. Like, I didn't ask anyone to take my word. I'm like, here's this scene from the original version, and here's a remaster scene. Lighting, textures, effects, everything looks better. And they were just losing it. I'm like, okay. So that was an experience dealing with the Deus Ex. Like, they were very, very angry people, you know. And the long and short of it is they kept saying this is unacceptable for 2025 and so forth. And they don't understand what a remaster is. This is a remaster. This isn't a remake. This isn't something that is trying to get modern graphics, because they kept bringing up 2025 graphics. And it's like, hey, this is just a remaster. This is the old game you used to play with dynamic shadows added, better textures added, completely new 3D character models added. Like, there was a lot done. And so it jumped a generation, you know, from like PlayStation 1 graphics, PlayStation 2, that sort of thing. But yeah, not the nicest fan base. I had a few that were brave enough to comment and say, hey, I'm looking forward to this. And to you guys and girls, good on you for being brave enough to jump into that cesspool. Just, they weren't calm about it, is my thing. I don't get upset, and I'm not upset about people disagreeing with me ever. It's just, this is a vicious fan base, at least the ones that I dealt with. As I said, there was a lot of people who just silently left a like on the video because they're obviously excited for it, but they didn't want to comment because they saw the whirlpool of hate that was going on down there. And full disclosure, I was pointed to check out certain mods, because that was the other main thing. They're like, hey, there are mods. So there's free mods, there's free contents out there that looks even better than this remaster. So I thought, okay, fair enough. I will check out this magical mod, because everyone kept pointing me at, everyone kept going there. And I'm like, look, I'm going to educate myself. Let's see what these fans are on about. And I had a look at the footage. I had a look at the pictures. I saw the improvements, and yes, the mods they pointed me towards, absolutely, and for free, improved the graphics for the original Deus Ex. Absolutely. But firstly, the remaster looks better, and you're allowed to have a different opinion to me, but the remaster looked better. It looks better. It's arguably better. The dynamic shadows, the textures, the new models and everything, it looks better. Because the thing is, they weren't saying that, hey, this is on par or this is like the mod. They said that the mod left it in the dust, right? And it's like, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. But let's move past that. To the fans that are excited for this game, I'm sorry, but it's probably not going to sell well, and you probably won't get the future Deus Ex support that you're hoping for, because the fans themselves, like, I literally think I have the only positive video on that game on YouTube. Like, can you believe that? Like, literally the only positive video on Deus Ex Remastered. And it's like, son, manage your expectations. It's one thing to be disappointed and say you wished for more. That's relatable, I get that. You wanted a remake, you wanted state of the art, and you got a remaster, which was simply a bump up. I get that disappointment. But let's not pretend that the remaster looks terrible. I had people even saying, not making it up, that the remaster looks worse than the original. And it's like, okay, these remasters and remakes and reimaginings, these are tests for future ongoing support that I think some people don't realize. When you support these games, you get more of them later. Sometimes you need to be grateful for what you have and then enjoy the ongoing support. This was their little Deus Ex test to see how the community would react, and they reacted terribly. But let's move on. So, Dynasty Warriors 3 Remastered, which, funnily enough, this game looks so good, they could have called it a remake, but it's not a remake, it's both. Visually, the graphics have been improved so much in Dynasty Warriors 3 that one could easily call it a remake, because it looks phenomenal. It looks state of the art, is what I'm saying. Remember before, when I explained the differences between remasters and remakes? The graphics are so good in this Dynasty Warriors 3 Remastered that you could call it a remake very easily. But they're staying true enough to the original feel of the game, the gameplay loop, the mechanics, the UI, all of that they've chosen to call it a remaster, but really it falls in any category. One thing which fans made clear in the comments section, which I think this is really good feedback, is Dynasty Warriors 3 had a certain difficulty to it, which I can attest to because I remember playing it on PlayStation 2 and I sucked at it. Like, I was good at beating everyone up, the main purpose of the game. But I didn't read the map. I ignored all the pop-ups of like, help this person, help that person, drive this away. I would just run off in any direction, just beat everyone. But then I'd lose the actual war, win the fight, lose the war, so to speak. And fans made it clear that after Dynasty Warriors 3, they simplified certain aspects. So before, when you swung your weapon would hurt a bunch of enemies in front of you. Say you had a staff or a long weapon or whatever. You do a big swing, you hit them. But you had to hit them. Later on, the Dynasty Warriors tried to be more user-friendly, I'm going to say. More casual-friendly. Because a single swipe in the later Dynasty Warrior games would make them go flying. Like, even those you have not hit would go flying. It took away from it. So I hope that they didn't do that with the Dynasty Warriors 3 Remastered, because fans were quite vocal about it. They were vocal about it. They wanted to feel and retain the same difficulty, and I can understand that. You don't want to replay an old game that you're very fond of, and that it's too easy. Things are off. You can feel it. We're very in tune with feeling. So that's a great game. That's another PS2 game. So you notice a pattern here. Between PS1 and PS2, we're getting all of those games come back. Again, full, completed, cheaper games that respect our wallet more. I actually have a personal rule. I refuse in Australia to spend more than $100 on a game. That's something I absolutely stick to. Brand new game comes out, I'm interested, it's $100. Maybe, because even 100 I know is pushing it. But these days you have games coming out for $110, $120, and they're the basic version, and they're incomplete, and they're paywalls, and they're buggy, and they've changed things for a made-up modern audience. It's like, no, we're not going to do this. I'm not going to support it. I was interested in Silent Hill F, launched $116 in Australia. I'm not buying it. Nope, not buying it. All of these games, all of them, wonderful, full, complete, fun experiences. Every single one of them will launch for significantly less. And yes, some of these are smaller experiences. Some of these are bigger experiences. But they respect me and my wallet more. And they're obviously selling well enough that we keep getting more. And all of these games that I've listed, this is just from this year. I've been covering remasters for a couple years now. There's others, and they're not going to stop. See, this is the opening in the market that the failure of many modern AAA games has caused. It's like, all right, you're not going to respect players. You're not going to give players what we want. You're not going to give what we deserve. There'll be others who'll give it for us. And what's happening at the moment is, yes, we have all of these old games coming back, but also the indie scene is blowing up. See, they underestimated indies. Indies for the longest time only brought us pixel games. And you only have so big a market for pixel games. A lot of people just aren't interested. So indies were pixels and they didn't threaten the AAA industry. But now, ladies and gentlemen, now indies are a force to reckon with. Indies are bringing, that's right, PlayStation 1 level graphics. Most of them. Some are even doing PlayStation 2 level graphics, but most of them are doing PlayStation 1. I mentioned before that I'm an old school survival horror game. I've been buying indie games with fixed camera old school survival horror games that look as good as the original Resident Evil games and often even better. So between indies filling the gaps and giving us the gaming experiences that most AAA, I'm not going to be negative here, but some of the bigger, more noticeable AAA studios, I'm glad that they're finally getting competition, because it's easy to forget that not long ago, AAA really was untouchable. There was a reason why Ubisoft used to launch the Assassin's Creed games basically every single year and broken, because everyone ignored people like me. I used to complain to my friends. I used to complain online. I had another YouTube channel or something. No one cared. Everyone ignored the complaining and they just kept buying and buying the games. And what happens? Well, you go ahead, you buy broken games, you're teaching publishers that they can keep launching broken. The only way a publisher is going to launch is if they launch their game and no one buys it. And then they panic and the shareholders want blood. That's how you get results. You're not going to get results if a game comes out broken, everyone buys it, but there's a couple random YouTubers like me complaining online. That doesn't mean anything. The bottom line is what matters. The dollar is what matters and whether or not it sells. So I'm glad that gaming is healing. I see 2025 absolutely as a win. There was plenty of indie games, plenty of AA games, plenty of games that like merged between AA and AAA. One such example of a game which I just absolutely loved was Dying Light the Beast. I loved Dying Light the Beast. I wouldn't really consider that specifically a AAA game, but I wouldn't really consider that a AA game either. So I reckon that's more in between. That gave me exactly what I wanted. That launched for 90 Australian, which I was quite happy with. I got a lot of hours out of it, and it balanced things very well because it had good graphics, it had great performance, it had minimal to no bugs. I literally came across one bug, throughout my entire playthrough. And I don't have like a powerhouse PC that's like carrying me, and so that's why I don't see the issues. Like I have an RTX 2060. I literally have the cheapest graphics card on the market that will let me do ray tracing if and when I want it. Otherwise, my computer is just a very basic gaming PC. And that ran fantastic, right? And I think that is the sweet point. That is the sweet point. Moving away from the wonderful remakes, remakes, and remasters and ports. I want them all. I literally want the whole library of the PlayStation 1, Nintendo 64 brought to modern consoles, make the graphics look even better, and give me the toggleable feature to jump between old and new graphics. I love that. You know, the Tomb Raider series did it, the Tomb Raider 1, 2, 3 remastered, and then 4, 2, 6, and Soul Reaver remastered 1 and 2. I love the fact that you could have the original graphics, press the toggle button, and then boom, you had the newer graphics. Loved that. But moving away from that, I hope that gaming going forward is humbled by this experience, because publishers and investors, when you have hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, when you have billions of dollars on the line, you pay attention to what the rest of the industry is doing. And when you spend 8-9 years working on a single game and then you launch it and it's like $120 in Australia and you don't get that money back because it's broken, it's missing features, you've paywalled, you have all these different versions of the same game, you've taken away things that games want, you've censored it, you've done whatever it is, right? You've done whatever it is and you haven't gotten that money back. And then you miss out on that money, and your investors are obviously very upset, and now you don't know if the whole game studio is going to be shut down and all this disaster, right? And then you look over at the many success stories. There's literally everyone but you. You're looking at the success of old PlayStation 1 games, old PlayStation 2 games making more money than you. That's got to hurt. That's really got to hurt, seeing everyone else launching games at 80 Australian, 90 max, right? And they're the brand new games. A lot of the remasters and so forth, $30-40. When you see those games make more profit than you did with minimal effort, minimal money, much higher return on investment, eventually you're going to start paying attention. And I think that's what's happened with Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis. I strongly believe that if the gaming industry hadn't shifted as strongly as it has over the last couple years, I believe Legacy of Atlantis wouldn't exist. And if it did exist, the main character, Lara Croft, she absolutely 100% would have looked very, very different. So it's a symbolic win that the older games are coming back to remind the industry and the world what gaming is about. And I'm more down for that. 2025 was a fantastic year. I think it's going to get even better for us in 2026. Looking forward to what's happening. I didn't even get a chance to talk about Nintendo Switch 2, which that launched and so forth, but maybe next time. Anyways, I've been talking for a lot longer than I expected. I'm going to wrap things up. God bless you all. Let me know down below in the comments section. Did you enjoy this? Like the video, leave a comment, and remember, you have been watching Extended Thoughts Episode 1. Every fortnight, I'm going to recap in a much longer form what it is we discussed in the shorter form videos. This video was a little bit all over the place because we covered 2025, so there was heaps of discussions. But next time will be a lot more focused. It will be on the videos that's actually been uploaded. With that said, God bless you all and take care.